Brown here, the Ram Man. Today I wanted to finish up with my third video of a little series. I've done 1 and 2 on hydraulic brake problems and diagnostics and failure to release. And here's the final one. So after you've determined that you don't have any mechanical problems of your brakes releasing nothing in the way, we move on to our hydraulic problems / mechanical problems. The second video we talked about how on a power brake car, you can loosen up the 4 nuts. So if you've got a problem with your brakes failing to release or dragging, we need to assume that there's hydraulic pressure on the system. And the easiest way to determine that or to relieve that, if there's a mechanical problem, is to loosen the 4 nuts on the master cylinder and allow this master cylinder to come out slightly, a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch. And if you do that, if you put that gap between the master cylinder and the flange of the booster and your brakes release, then that immediately points to the booster push rod is too long. And remember, these are adjustable. You can hold that spline with some pliers, and this is a 3/8. You can use a socket or a nut, and you can turn it in a few turns and get that adjustment correct. Normally you need about a 1/15 or 20 thousandths gap between the two, because as this heats up, the pistons will back up slightly, expanding because of the heat. But so if you release the master cylinder and get a little gap and the brakes release, that means that the push rod has kept pressure on the rear piston. And of course, we don't want that, so we need to screw that in slightly. Now we can move on. So what about if we get a gap right here, a physical gap? Now we know that the booster is not keeping any pressure or strain on the master cylinder pistons. And let's say that our rear brakes still have pressure on them, or they're failing to release. We can come up here to our brake line fitting on the front of the master cylinder. Remember, the front port feeds the rear brakes on a Mopar, and the rear port feeds the front brakes. If you come up here to this little tube fitting, put your rag underneath it. If you crack that tube fitting and open it up slightly, and your rear brakes release, now we know that we have a problem directly associated with the master cylinder, and specifically this front piston and spring assembly. It's not going back far enough to open up the return port, allowing the fluid to come back in. Or it could be, rarely, but it is possible, this residual pressure valve that's installed on the front port on drum brake cars through 1975. There could be a problem there. But once again, quickie review, so you can do the booster and master cylinder separation by a little gap, and then if the pressure relieves, then you know you've got a problem there at the interface, and then you can move on and crack the tube nut, either the back or the front, and you can release the pressure and see if your back brakes free up or your front brakes free up. So you can determine whether it's a problem with the front piston, rear piston, or both. So there we go, my friends. I hope this helps you out. Real simple to do on a car, just a couple little nuts and a little wrench, and you can diagnose a whole bunch of problems and gather a whole bunch of information really, really quick, just in 5 or 10 minutes. And hope that helps you out. God bless you. God bless America. We sure do need it. And happy Moparing. You can reach us on the web, and you can email us also. Phone number is 817-429-0105. We love phone calls. We're old school. You can transfer lots of data with a phone call as versus an email, especially in involved diagnostic situations. All right, guys, be good. Bye.